teach, yes, I teach keyboard and computer application, personal finance, entrepreneurship.
Gotcha.
Right. Background, computer and technology.
Welcome.
I'm Tony Cockrell, and I'm actually a technology integrator, and I just started working in North Mississippi. I've been in South Mississippi for about the last 6 or 7 years.
So you work within the school district?
That's correct.
Or the state?
K through 12 and community colleges.
Okay.
My name is Jeff Clay. I'm the principal at Oxford Elementary.
And where's Oxford Elementary?
It's in north central Mississippi.
I'm Mark McLaurin. I'm Oxford School District, also principal of the Elevation 4th and 5th grade school.
I'm Ben Skelton. I'm a grad student at Delta State University.
Good morning. I'm Anna McCord, principal of West Tallahatchie High School, Tallahatchie County.
My name is Jordan Goins. I teach at Ray Brooks School, 4th and 5th grade math.
Last name, last to tell us who you are.
Last of what?
The last to tell us who you are.
Ralph, you're up. You're up, Ralph.
You're it.
I'm Ralph Smith from Indiana School District.
What do you do, Brandon? What do you do there?
I'm the Education and Technology Specialist. General Flunky.
Gotcha. The man everybody calls.
I know about that.
It's always good to know who we're
Did we
talking
get this
to.
gentleman over here?
Oh, you came in there. He was. Second.
I saw him in the corner.
not the last one.
No. We won't put any.
I'm Ron Anderson, account manager with Cisco Systems for K-12 market in Mississippi.
Great mixed group. Welcome to you, everyone. I know everyone enjoyed Sheryl's talk with us this morning. Come on in, still time. What we're going to share with you during the next 50 minutes is one of those things that we dare to imagine. And it has to do with the collaboration of a school district and a university and the win-win situation that came out of that. The title, it says it's preparing the next generation of K-12 teachers. I myself came from, just as Sheryl did, from the classroom. Now am the director of student teachers at McNeese State University, which is in the southwest part of Louisiana. We're the Rita folks. And every time I speak with people from up here, it's like, okay, we're the Rita Herbert. I've come here the last couple of summers at Nuria's request to do some training with the interns that go into the schools, because as we kind of talk about it, I'm the one that connects the dots. These folks, these interns that come into your schools have that technology knowledge. They usually understand how to do it and why and when to do it. They can help teachers, but they don't really understand the way teachers think. So I try to do that. I try to make that come alive for them, what the responsibilities a teacher has once she is or he is in that classroom, and what they can do to assist them in using the technology. Empower them to become those kinds of teachers that they need to be. So, Nuria said, I want you to go in there and talk to these interns because they're going to meet with some resistance from some teachers. And I said, oh no. You know, that's going to be understandable. And so that's the first thing I have to tell the young interns is it's just that, you know, don't ever think a closed door means you can't possibly get your foot in there at some point. So anyway, with that, we'll talk to you about what we do in Lake Charles, what we do in our district that affects our region, and for the most part affects our state because of the partnership that we've had for the last, can we do the math?
It's about 10
Almost
years.
over 10 years now. Go with the next one, and this is the program's history.
As Faye mentioned, interesting aside, Faye and I student taught together in 1972 in the same classroom. This was, as the kids say, back in the day.
Back in the day.
When there were so many teacher candidates that they did not have enough classrooms to give everyone a cooperating teacher, and they put two in a classroom together. So Faye and I, fall of 1972, student taught together in a second grade classroom, and our hopes and aspirations were that we would get a job because there were so many teachers that there were no jobs. And so here we are more than what, 38 years later, and working together again, and have begun to work together. As Faye mentioned, her role at the university is critical. It is a critical link to the 5 school districts. In Louisiana, they're all called parishes, but they're county districts. And so the region that I work in, Region 5, there are 5 school districts. Calcasieu is the largest. My district has about 34,000 students in it, about 6,000 employees. We're right on the Texas border. We're 22 minutes from the Texas border, about 2 hours from Houston, about 3 hours from New Orleans. As you said, the Eye of Rita was our district. And so
we train a lot of teachers for Texas.
We train a lot of teachers to go to Texas and make some real money. In fact, my daughter and her daughter are 2 of them. But when I came into this position, like I said, over 12 years ago, one of the first things I began to look at with technology training and building technology literacy was, how are we going to get done? How are we going to ever get this done? Because there are masses of teachers in the classroom that are like, not me. Not me. This is not for me. I know how to teach. Sheryl, I've been teaching. And yet we've got waves of young people coming to the classroom that understand, I got this. They got their cell phone. They can text. They can do things on the internet. But they are clueless in terms of making that connection. How is technology used to engage students? How is it used to improve student learning? And so Faye was in a perfect position. I had just been moved into a leadership role. She had great influence over student teachers. I had all the influence over the professional development and technology use. So we began to conspire. And in 1999, we wrote for federal technology money, what was called the Technology Literacy Challenge Fund. We created a program called BUILT, Building Understanding and Instructional Leadership Through Technology, and IMPACT, Integrating Multidisciplinary Practices in Curriculum and Technology. But the great thing about it is, this federal money required partnerships. And if you think about, well, how does this, big deal, Sheryl, that's great, tell us the history story, but how does this apply for you today? How does this anchor this for you? There's still federal money out there. There's still state money out there that requires partnerships. And for us, one of the wisest decisions we made was to reach out to the university because of relationships, personal, professional, but the fact that we knew the pipeline to our school districts for teachers was this university. Over 90% of the teachers that come into the classrooms in this 5-district area come from McNeese State University. So if we're ever going to fix the problem of, from both ends, fix the people in the classroom and fix the people coming to the classroom, so one day we can't sit back and say, we're getting close, we're almost there, we'll never get done, but we're almost there, is to partner with the university and work on the pre-service program. So these 2 grants did a multiplicity of things. They provided equipment for the university. My superintendents and the other 4 in the region are like, we're going to buy what? We're going to do what? I said, we're going to buy a computer lab for the university. We're going to put equipment in the university in the College of Education. We're going to bring the College of Education faculty to the school district and train them and work with them. And thank God, Faye and some other visionary people at the university said, we've got to get our act together. In other words, expectations are rising in the classroom, and professors of education must rise to that same challenge.
Do you think teachers can have some issues? College professors can have some serious issues about technology integration.
Absolutely.
At that time, especially.
Absolutely. And so we began this journey to build capacity at the district level, but co-building capacity at the university level. Because it didn't do us any good, again, to hire bright, smart teachers that could text and could build and could blog, but could not teach 21st century skills in the classroom. So lots of cooperation, lots of partnerships, lots of cooperative agreements, and a carrot. So a lot of you are in school districts. That'd be my first tip to you. Partner with some university, some organization in your area that has teacher pre-service work under their purview, and use some of the money you have to help bring them Because when we said we're going to buy laptops for the College of Ed faculty, we're in, all in. You know, we're going to put in a lab, we're in. Then when if we've worked across the years, Promethean boards, we're all going to train together. Interactive whiteboards, we're in. So it's about that carrot and the stick. Our current partnership is called E3. It's called Ensuring Educational Excellence. It is a joint venture between McNeese and the College of Ed, our school board. And I think the really interesting piece, and I'm going to move to the next slide and ask Faye to embellish this, is that the work of the school districts and the expectations of the school districts have become embedded in the practices of the university. And the timeline we're going to talk about for what that pre-service program looks like for prospective teachers is required for graduation now. Faye, in her wisdom and her manipulations, have been able to aid.
Well, I can only go so far. I can't require for graduation, but I can require it for student teaching.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they don't finish, if they don't finish this work, they don't finish student teaching, which is the precursor to graduation, I guess. So it's coursework. It's coursework.
Right. And of course, those of you who are involved with higher ed, first, we have zero budget, and I don't know how we're doing it now, but we have minus zero budget. But at that point, when they said give you equipment and give you this, we were like, well, yes. And then, of course, there's the walls there. We had a department of technology, but it wasn't being, we weren't coming together. There wasn't a marriage there. So this whole project helped put teacher education, that department, into the mix. Of course, there's always standards that we have to go by. As a higher ed university, there were NCAID standards, but we looked at those NCAID standards. All it is good teaching. You look at the standards for Mississippi, the standards for Louisiana, the standards for Texas. It's all about good teaching. They're all just a mixed bag. The NTAS, they're all similar in that it's all about doing what's best in the classroom. So that was easily done. It has to do with problem solving, getting through the administration, doing some research, where there was all kinds of possibilities now that we had the university folks behind us, some of those who were less compliant, less willing to come with us. We gave them other little jobs like, oh, just think about the data we can collect if we do this, so that kind of, whatever carrot it took, we used. Having our professors trained to use technology, they are worse than having and I hate to say this, principals, but having a group of principals in a room can sometimes not be such a pretty place to be. Having a bunch of professors in the room, trying to, you have to turn it on, Dr. So-and-so, you have to turn it on. I have it on. No, you have to turn it on. So it was funny because the people who are training these folks were, had always been afraid of them.
Seriously challenged.
Yeah, so anyway, it was cool. Other kinds of things that happened was the transition to teaching grants came through, and we utilized their standards were being met. We found that everything that we were doing was assisting in the grant writing for other projects because we were already in place. And so it really became, we continued to build on the whole project. But it's always been about the integration of technology with the students as the focus. The students needed to use it. The students needed to work with it. The students need to get their hands on it. And as soon as we got that message over, it all became a lot clearer for everybody. Yeah.
Faye has some handouts that we think will help you. So you're probably saying, okay, great, that sounds like a good little story. That's a nice history lesson. So what is it? Well, these are the requirements for the program. Prior to this, student teachers did observation hours and they participated in student teaching activities. Well, we redesigned that whole program with the leadership of the university and with Dr. White's authority over the student teaching program. So that now students that graduate from McNeese or participate in an alternative certification route, which is more and more of our young people that move through non-traditional routes to licensure, have to go through the E3 program. Years ago, it was like, we're not doing, look, I'm going to do my work. I took my courses, and I'm not going over to that technology training center at the school board. And Dr. White very kindly and firmly coached and kicked them back over to us and said, well, that sounds fine and appreciate your thinking. However, to complete this course in which will result in graduation for you with a degree or certification, you must go through this program. So it requires observation in our model technology schools and technology. In other words, not hearing the rhetoric about, well, you should do this and you should do that, but seeing the practice, seeing 21st century learning anchored in standards-based instruction in the best classrooms we have to offer. It's 2.5 days. We're going to go in depth as to what day 1, day 2, and day 2.5 look like. They build technology-connected lesson plans, or CUPs, as Faye calls them, a comprehensive unit plan. It is very intensive work. Faye, I know that you work with these teachers. I'm going to let you talk a little bit about, from that university perspective, how you anchor it, how you demand excellence.
When you start this partnership out, the best thing to do is to probably think about how you're going to make it relevant for the student. And at this point, I'm talking about the teacher candidate. In the 10 classroom observation hours, I could say, like, let's just say tomorrow, if you go out to your school and there's a new teacher or a teacher from a teacher candidate coming from a university or an associate degree candidate who's come in to do some field experiences in your school, you know, and so you look to find a classroom for them to go to or whatever your process is. Think about putting them in those classrooms that have technology-rich integration, because that's the kind of place that they're going to see and benefit from the most. In this case, we set these up because at the time, you've got students who are carrying 18, 21 hours sometimes, or we just have students who don't like to get out of bed in the morning. So when these were set up, we needed to make sure that they signed up. It had to be pretty organized, and they had to know that there would be someone there accountable. So there at the very beginning of the program, there was somebody from the parish clicking them off. There was somebody from the university there too. There was the reminder about how they needed to, you know, process going into the school, what they're supposed to be doing. So on a website that we might look at later, but you'll have the addresses on your handout, there were all the things that the student needed. There was their observation checklist. What are they looking for? We didn't want them back there balancing their checkbook. We didn't want them just, you know, just doing what they normally do, just kind of, you know, back there with their mouth open. We wanted them to be observing for certain characteristics and to come back to the classroom with that. So these are tied. The first day 1 is the semester prior to student teaching. They're in a classroom management classroom. And it's a course. Let me just pull out a number. Okay, so let's say it's 410. In 410, they have X amount of field experiences. Well, now, of that amount, 40 of them or 20 of them need to be related to technology. Some of it has to do with their observation. Some of it has to do with their training. Sheryl said about going to train at the tech center at the parish. Why? We don't have that kind of money. We don't have that kind of training. They've got the equipment and the room set up to train their teachers in their district already, so why not utilize it during the day when the teachers sometimes aren't able to use it, and her staff was willing and able to do the training for us. So we weren't relying on our professors to do the training, we were relying on the experts, which would be her staff. So they went for 1 whole day. They bring their lunch, because we found if they didn't come back. Well, you know, my H&HP boys, that's my health and human performance, their teacher, their supervisor actually goes with them every time they go. They go in a group. And it's gotten to where now it's kind of a joke, you know, like we need 12 computers just for those, you know, and we want them all together. But the rest of them we've left. Oh, if I could tell you how it's changed in the last 10 years. Everything was such. It was like walking in mud. You know, everything was such a challenge.
Burdensome. It was like pulling teeth. And now the culture. There's been a cultural shift. It's now an expectation. The first 4 or 5 years, it was like a battle. Why do we have to go to the school district? We're college students.
Yeah, we don't want to go back.
But now it is just seamless because there's been a cultural shift.
I don't need to check on them. They are little friends check on them, you know, and they'll tell me, you know. But I don't need to check on them because everything is, if their work's not up there, when I look to see their work, we'll show you how that's put up there, then I know they can go. We have a makeup day. One makeup day. So they know, you know, let me just try to get a convenient time for me, and let me make sure I get there and do that. That's day one, the semester prior to student teaching. So I have a whole group of about 175 folks who went through there this year, day one. And what did they do in day one? They learned and they did some software integration.
We take this.
Yeah, there you go. They might have utilized, they're doing their observations at the same time, they might have asked about some of the things they saw. I can tell you that we didn't, like I said, we don't have this kind of equipment. We now have provisional boards in our college, but we don't have any of the other handheld devices. And so they got to see those kinds of things, and they work on the beginnings of a lesson. They start off with just a lesson, a single lesson that's technology rich, we call that. Everything is done there. They also do their personal philosophy, their educational philosophy, which they put to, they take a picture of themselves. Well, they used to. That was when we first started. We had a photo. But now they actually video
It is
themselves.
video. We're using storyboarding techniques with them. We use Movie Maker. They develop their own educational philosophy. We film them. They edit that video. And it becomes part of their webfolio, part of the documentation that the university and Faye requires for this course completion. So everything is on the web. Now, that's great for the university. That's perfect because it gives Faye a compliance piece. But what else it's good for is it's good for the student and they don't even know it. Because when they go out into the field to start applying for jobs, they now become so savvy. They give, some of them have created business cards with that URL and give it to the principal or a curriculum person that they're interviewing with, and they say, this is my webfolio, this is my work that has the comprehensive unit plan, that have the certain requirements that the districts require and the university now requires. So all this is aligned. There's no disconnects anymore. Well, I had to do this at McNeese, but when I get to the school district, I have to do this. No, it is a seamless transition to teaching from pre-service into induction program when they begin their first year of teaching. And, you know, I think Faye made a valid point that the university has come light years. They have broadband connectivity, they have interactive whiteboards. The faculty, university faculty, have become adept at modeling this technology integration. But what the district has is the practical anchored experience in classroom learning with technology. So these kids, the staff, the people that are on my staff are master technology using teachers. They're called technology facilitators. We pulled them from the classroom when they were hired because they were the best that we had in the district. And they've gotten even better. So they're using cutting-edge blogs and wikis. They're talking about cyber safety and security. They're modeling this, but the students are creating projects along the way that become part of this digital portfolio that helps them for their course requirements at the university, but helps them with their PR for hiring and getting a new job.
They're often surprised when a principal will say, I looked at your work already. And it was interesting, one principal actually said to me, I enjoy the video piece, you know, now, because we talked about throwing it out every now and then, and they said it's good to hear their voice. And I never had thought about it like that, but you know, sometimes you'll see someone who just looks like just a wonderful person, and they might have a very aggravating voice. This is how the principal put it to me. I said, you know, do you not hire somebody if they have a real aggravating voice? I don't know. But he made that comment, and I said, that's nice to know. You know, I thought, okay, check that one. But anyway, it's good to see the students, you know, first saying what their philosophy is, and then to hear their voice and to hear how they. I like to see them because it's the first time I've seen them cleaned up in a while. You know,
They get all dressed up.
at least from the waist up.
Yeah.
They're looking real good. I had seen some of the guys' hair. I didn't even know they had hair. Now that's no longer a problem either because we don't wear caps inside anymore. But anyway, so then day 2 happens in student teaching, and day 2 and day 2 and a half do. Day 2 is right when they first start student teaching, before they have too many of the routines going on. They go in there, they're thinking about a unit that they're going to have to teach for a 10-day experience during student teaching. They're bringing that unit to the tech center, and it's all about embellishing that unit, making that unit come alive. Maybe it's something they've taught before, maybe it's an old unit they wrote during their methods class days, I don't know. Maybe they found out that they're student teaching in 3rd grade, and you know everything they had was for lower kids. So how do I bump this up? The folks who are at the tech center assist them in making this more of a relevant piece for the students and for the teacher candidate to use. And in day 2.5, they put everything on the web. Their web folio is complete at that point, and they get a little certificate. We found that they still needed something. They needed a piece of paper. And so they gave them a little certificate, and they know that I go back there and check everything out. So that's
I've seen them in classrooms.
Oh yeah. Oh, they'll hang
I've seen the certificate framed in a classroom.
They hang them.
And so as much angst as there was at first, like I said, it's become embedded in the culture. The other thing is they're proud of their work. You know, we talk about young people, but they're still young people. And if they're 40 or 50 and they're second-career professionals, they're still young people in terms of this career. And so they're very proud of that work, and it's online. And we host all of that online for them. So it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to do. And they've got 3 or 4 people in the room with them working. And I thought it was funny, the story Faye told you about the health and PE guys, because they used to be the most resistant. But since they have had some leadership from their university faculty, they're much better. They were the hardcore. Yeah. They would sit in the back. I'm a coach. I'm not going to do nothing like this.
They have to.
They use technology. We have interactive whiteboards in our health PE classrooms and in our gyms. We have groups of teachers that use the Wii, Dance Revolution. They're doing calculations on students' heart rate and monitoring all that stuff with technology. It's all up on the Promethean interactive whiteboard. They're graphing that data in Excel and showing growth over time with students. I mean, there's a big emphasis on students' health and obesity awareness and that stuff. So the technology is perfect for that. So
you see what happens there is that you've got McNeese students going into the school system looking for the things that they were told would be there, and now the teachers in the classroom are feeling as though, well, I've got to take this out and use it, you know, because they're coming in. Accountability on both ends. How many principals